So what's up, Johann? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Jamie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Like I was just saying, the boredom was kicking in. I want to get back training and teaching, and hopefully we're on the back end of all of this interruption, I suppose.
Yes, I think it's a difficult time. It's definitely miss the students and miss training, and hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. But I think that we might have a little bit of time still.
Yeah, it's like that the kind of some restrictions will start to be lifted soon, like the 5th of May over here. But I
All
don't
right.
know. I don't know if that's going to be taekwondo clubs will be back training.
Yes, and I think even when restrictions are lifted, what we're preparing ourselves for is there's going to be a bit of a kind of emotional impact on people and the willingness to go out and train at least immediately. So that'll take a little bit of time, but hopefully everyone will settle in soon and we can get back to normal.
Yeah, you've started some online classes. How have they been going?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Actually, I took a couple of weeks. So we stopped as soon as we thought those, we saw sort of the gravity of the situation. So the 17th of March when we stopped, and we told the students that straight away there'd be a 2 week break because we normally stop for 2 weeks for Easter. And then myself and Calvin and the rest of the team, we planned all the sessions. So we have sort of 8 taekwondo classes in the week. That's in the evenings with all the separate grades and the little ones. And then during the day, we have every morning, we have a fitness and well-being class. So on Monday and Friday, there's yoga. I teach boxing on Tuesday and like a cardio combat class on a Thursday. And on Wednesday, there's a strength and conditioning. But those classes are absolutely free. They're free to all students, to all friends, all family. Because what we thought was, it's not just our students at home, all the families are at home as well.
Yeah, sure.
And especially with the homeschooling, it's difficult for the kids because normally they're in a school environment and they've got their friends and they've got playtime and they've got break and they're in a learning environment. And for the parents as well, they're trying to teach the kids and so there's something that we do. And I just finished my class this morning, and for me, I love it. It's a great way for me to start my day, to see everyone, to train with them. And so we've had a really good response, and it's a new experience for us all. But for me, I've also taken it as an opportunity to develop my sort of teaching skill set, because it's very different when you're interacting in person and then you're trying to communicate that on screen really, and make sure that everyone has a sort of an enjoyable experience. They enjoy the class. So like when we're doing our taekwondo classes, we have two instructors. You've got one we call the co-pilot. They're there. So you've got the person who's demonstrating and leading the class, and the other one who's giving feedback and helping the guys with corrections and just motivating them as well. So it's so far so good, given it's the first time that we've done it, but we're all enjoying it, and the students seem to be responding well as well.
Yeah, that was the challenge. I think like nobody fully knew it when it first kind of started, like how long it was going to be. So, and
Yes.
whether to like you said, it took a bit of time to maybe get the classes and get set up
Mm.
to really be able to do the online class as well.
No, definitely. We wanted to plan it first. I mean, so many people reacted so quickly. It was incredible, really. And the one thing I have seen is, what's great is that as a kind of community, taekwondo community, everyone has been sharing knowledge. You've got instructors posting tips on how they set up their classes, where they're really techie, and they've sort of given tips. You've got everyone hosting open classes and encouraging others. And even though we're sort of isolated, say physically, that's one thing I felt, that there's been, a real opportunity for everyone to connect, like we are now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
wonderful to see you. I saw you, just before everything happened. You were here for the Warrior Open, but it's great to speak to you and see you. And last night I taught the class, and I had some guys from, Claudia and Stephanie from, from the States, and Nicholas Dusard from Canada joined me, Trinidad as well, and Ariella from Vegas. So they're all joining my classes as well. And normally we have to wait for a world championship or a World Cup for the guys outside of Europe, or a big event. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool as well. Yeah, we had a like that. Had a It was Elijah Everett was saying, like when he was on he like that some guys big into kickboxing, like there's been some crossover there, and some
Yeah.
students in that he's been working with, or they've had a chance to even Kev Baldwin was saying as well that some he'd had some top guys in kickboxing take some of his classes through Zoom. So some of his students have had an opportunity to train and nearly get like a
Wow.
seminar with some of these top names, because like that
Yeah.
just what's presented, and you don't usually get this opportunity to kind of have something like that happen.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, training in your living room rather than traveling, it's good. It's a great way to connect.
So like, how did you get started in taekwondo?
Well, basically, so I'm Sri Lankan, and I was in Sri Lanka on holiday, and I broke my toe on the first day, literally first day running around with my cousins. And it was bad as well. So then I was just sitting at home, and then my cousins brought in Karate Kid, and I'll say the proper Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid,
Yeah,
right? So I was watching that. I must have watched it about 11 times. And as soon as I came home, I told my mum and dad that I'd like to learn martial arts. So in terms of taekwondo, it was luck, really. It was luck because they literally started taekwondo at my school that term in that September. And the instructor is Senior Master Arthur de Silva. So no relation, but it was nice. But everyone thought I was his son, and I feel I did get preferential treatment. But no, it was nice. So that was really how I started taekwondo. It was at my prep school when I was 8, as an after-school club, and then I trained until I was 11. And when I left school, my parents contacted the school and they asked if I could come back, sort of, if I could make it back from school in time, and they allowed me to continue. So I used to come back, and I was the first one to do that. So really, that's how it all started. So a bit of luck that it was taekwondo in the first place, but definitely a life decision that I've stayed with it because I love it.
Yeah, I think partly what kind of kept me into competition at early was seeing the original Karate Kid and that
Yeah,
trophy, the big trophy he wins at the
a
end.
big trophy.
Yeah, that's it. Like, so you always kind of were hoping that you went to every competition hoping that is today the day you get one of them really big ones.
All right, I'm going to speak to Tim Cool. Maybe the Warrior Open next year. We'll have to have a life-size trophy. Okay, is that the feedback? That's the feedback we're getting. Okay.
I'll, I'll definitely be back then.
All right. Good stuff.
But yeah, so actually I was kind of similar, that I just wanted to start a martial art, and like
Mm.
that you associate like the Karate Kid, karate, and it just so happened that it was taekwondo I got into. And
Yes.
when you're a kid, it's kicking and punching in a white suit. It's all the same,
Yes.
really, to you. And then so you
Yes.
stick with it, and then you end up going on a lifetime journey, pretty much.
Definitely. And for us, it's our passion. It's what we do, every day of our life now. But it's also funny, I've had my school for 21 years, and I still get parents. They've probably been with me 7 years, 8 years, and they're like, "Oh, Johann, is karate on over Christmas?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, we've stopped." I don't even bother
Yeah.
correcting them now. The kids know, and everyone knows. I think it's a lot more, because of the Olympics as well. But still, it's funny. But normally, everyone, Karate Kid or some sort of martial arts film is the reference, and then you start training.
Yeah, so you kind of have to I think you do, yeah, just give up kind of correcting after a while.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
might figure it out eventually on their own.
Yes.
So would you have competed much then when you started as a color belt or anything like that as a kid?
When I was in the art school club, not really, to be honest. When I was 15, I started training with Grandmaster Trevor Nichols. That's when I switched to his club, a really competition focused club, and that's when I started competing sort of regularly, and I loved it. And I think it's I love kickboxing as well, and the competition element of it. But when you have a martial art like taekwondo, where you've got a belt system, there's a way of sort of acknowledging your progress, and that's represented with the belts naturally. And I think competition is another way of reinforcing that as well. And there's so many important skill sets that we tell for the parents, and sort of life sort of skills that you learn when you're competing, that for all our students they have to compete. So I started when I was very young. Now we teach a pre-syllabus, the Little Warrior syllabus, for 3 to 6-year-olds, and when the kids are 5, they have to compete as well. That's in order to, they get badges. I don't get a badge. You don't get a badge. We don't get a badge in a dobok, but you've got a world title, so you're okay. But they get a cool badge that they put on their dobok, so everyone knows they're a competitor and they've stepped into the ring, and they've been, they've been fearless and courageous. So that's good for them. So I started when I was about 15.
Yeah, I always tend to say that, like, the well, we try to promote obviously the in taekwondo is the tenets and what that can kind of bring, and that side of
Yes,
martial arts. And for me, I know you feel like that. I feel, and for me personally, the best opportunity to like express those is through competition. And
exactly.
you know that really where it brings it out. Like all like, you know, having to persevere and all that sort of stuff is when you've been knocked back in competition. Like that's where it really kind of brings out. That's what I feel. That competition brings out the all those elements. Um,
I think so. I think there's that dedication and there's the work ethic that's necessary and the commitment to achieve. And I also think in terms of socially as well, you know, we all see each other probably more than we see our friends outside of taekwondo, and we're living in different countries, you know, and everyone shares the experience of having to cut weight or having to train or having to miss a family event or a birthday or a party. And also what's amazing is that you'll compete against someone, and then straight afterwards you're, you know, this your friend before for 4 minutes of the bout with the break. So 5 minutes you want to beat them, and you're doing everything in your power to beat them, but they're your friends afterwards. And I always think, well, there's one time here in the UK, in Wales, when I fought Christian Orilani, so the Welsh Open, and I fought Christian in the semis, and I lost on that occasion, but he was on his own. He was on his own. So then for the final, I coached him. A lot of people were, you know, they didn't know were looking. But look, Christian's my friend. You know, I wanted to beat him in the semi, but as soon as he goes through, then I'm there wanting him to win. So I think we all share that experience. You know, if ever anyone's around, if my students are competing and, you know, I'm on another ring, I know any number of coaches, any number of friends will jump on without hesitation. And that's important as well. It's the sense of sort of friendship and, you know, and working together that's important as well.
yeah, it is a strange game that as friends you punch each other in the face for fun,
Yeah.
and like it's a strange one.
Yeah, well, you got to be good friends, right? To take a shot in the face and still go for a drink afterwards as well. So no,
Yeah,
definitely, I think it's the right spirit there.
yeah, and it was a funny story like that with just like when you're trying to promote competition to the parents and stuff. I found I actually we're always like that the same in the club. Adrian always sends out, you know, the newsletter and that to kind of tell the parents like why we encourage competition. But I actually found a newsletter from like 2004, 2005. So I would have been about a green tag at the time.
All
And I
right,
found it in a drawer, and it pretty much most of the newsletter was explaining the exact same reasons for why we promote competition. And like that 15, 16 years ago, it's like it just doesn't go away, that those reasons to
no,
compete,
it's
no
fantastic.
matter it's kind of, yeah, you could have copy and pasted most of the newsletter, and it would still
Yeah,
it would still hold up, which I kind of thought was kind of cool.
no, definitely. I mean, there's been a lot of evolution in certain elements in the training methods and tactics and things, but there are certain core elements like that which remain the same, which is why you're training, what you're trying to achieve, the spirit that you sort of trying to embody. No, it's funny then, so that you found that, and it's remained the same.
And so like in terms of competition, would you have competed much kind of at an international level, or was it pretty much like, you know, going to all local competitions throughout England and the UK?
So as soon as I got my black belt, it was pretty much all international competitions, all over the UK as well. We used to do some open events, so not just taekwondo, so mixed disciplines, and we travelled all over the world. You know, so I was with on my, you know, the team. We were really close. We had, you know, Mandeep Brawley, who's a master now, Lee Hollinsworth as well, a master, and we used to travel with Grandmaster Nichols, literally, you know, all over the world. We were in America, in Canada, in Norway at the it was, you know, Norway competing Bergen 2003, in Canada so it was all over really, and getting the opportunity to compete internationally was huge, and that's never really stopped. And that's why, you know, with my team, with the guys, I mean, they probably do 7 internationals a year, you know, and that's not including you know, the worlds or a Euros or a World Cup, you know, there's a lot of competition nationally, but I think in order to get a variety of competition, you really need to travel, and so there are certain events that we'll try and be at every year.
Yeah, I think sometimes you sometimes see maybe a difference of opinion like that. Some people would say, you know, lots of competition is good, and the more you can compete, the better chance opportunity you have to kind of get sharp. And then I see other people maybe say you don't need a lot of competition if your training is on point. That, you know, you don't have to compete as much. I would be more so kind of, I kind of like to regularly compete,
Yes.
because I think there's other things like just having to put yourself through a preparation, a warm up, the nerves. The more you do that, the more you expose yourself to that, I feel like the better chance you have when the big day comes. But sounds like you're kind of the same. That lots of competition is more the way to go.
I think so, definitely. I mean, there's value in both ways. You know, you can, you know, if you look at your nationally in Ireland, you know, the level of competition is unbelievable. So you're getting world class sparring partners week in, week out. You've also got world class coaches, and the same is of England, same in many countries. But the one thing I think it's difficult to replicate is when exactly what you said, which is when you go abroad, when you're at a competition and you've got the nerves, or where you're used to competing so much that the nerves are maybe something you can control, but it's waiting, it's the uncertainty of when you're going to go on, trying to manage that. You know, I think that's really important for the guys. And to be honest, when I, as a national team coach, I noticed that the most with the younger athletes coming through. So you've got the guys breaking into the team when they're 14 or 15. And I think there was a noticeable difference between those that had competed regularly, were used to the international stage, used to seeing world champions walk past them and national team coaches and things, and used to big screens and, you know, hundreds of people around, and those that were still elite fighters, elite competitors, elite performers, but the occasion was a little bit new for them. And you know that takes a lot of energy. That's a, you know, adrenaline dump after that is difficult to manage as well.
Yeah, I find the first one, the first big championships is always an eye opener to everybody.
Yes.
Like you said, yeah, there's because you do forget that actually, like everybody is in the same arena. Like you are walking past the world champions, multiple time world champions, people
Mm.
who could be seen, you know, the best people in the sport, and it's your first time at the championships, and you're just walking past them. Everybody's just floating around the hall, or you could end up
Yeah.
warming up next to somebody like that
Yes,
because it depended on the schedule, and that can be like an experience. And if you don't know, if you haven't done it before, then it could affect your performance.
definitely. No, so that's why I think competition is important. That's at an elite level, but even for the younger kids, they don't go abroad, but they compete every, you know, as much as possible. So you know they have to do at least 3 competitions a year in order to grade, even our little ones. But that's more a case of, you know, when we talk to the parents, we hope that they'll never have to use the skills that they learn to defend themselves. We hope they're never in a situation where they have to sort of defend themselves. But if you do, you want them to be prepared to use them under, you know, when they're under stress, under pressure. And the only way, the closest way to recreate that is in a competition environment. Because even when you spar in class, you're with your friends and you're in your usual dojang, so it's no problem. So again, that's what it is, and it's again in terms of performing in front of a lot of people, and you know, you have a number of world championships in their own dojang, world champions in their own dojang. But when you step on the mats, can you recreate it? And that's why I think the top athletes, they make it look effortless, but the real, of course, there's so much effort that goes into it. But it's the preparation, it's the familiarity with the surroundings that they're used to, and I think that regular tournament participation really helps that.
Yeah, as I say, even like with self defense, for me the number one thing is fight or flight. And
Yes, yes,
if when you like you go to a kid and you say the competition is we're going in 3 weeks time to this competition, and they suddenly start getting nervous and maybe they get scared, and then all of a sudden they go, I'm going to stay at home. Well, that was flight. It's like
yes, yes,
the first thing is, yeah, you got nervous and you're scared, but the first thing is standing up to it and just enter the competition, and then you can work
yes,
on
yes,
when you step in the ring what you do and that sort of pressure then. But the first thing is you got to step into the competition, you got to step out on the floor.
definitely. That's it. I mean, that's what I've also tried to explain. You know, if you've got a club, or if you, because of social media and you know, there's awareness, people are seeing world champions and European champions, and but it takes real courage, and everyone is a champion if they just step into the ring in the first place. To step up there, knowing that someone is going to try and kick and punch you, albeit in a sporting environment, trying to score points, that takes a lot of guts. You know, so that's what we think. You know, and that's what we sort of tell everyone, that it's that's the most important lesson. And then if you do well in that, you get to the next round. Okay, great, that's a bonus. And then the next round, that's another bonus. But stepping in each time, you're a winner already.
Yeah, 100%. And so, like when did you said you've had the club quite a while? would you have, when you were first started the club, would you have been competing as well at the same time, or had you stopped competing when you started in the
No,
club?
no, I was competing. So I was 19 when I opened up, and I only really stopped competing, I'd say, about 5, 6 years ago. So it was trying to manage the two. Um, but as with everything, the club evolved. So it was on a Saturday morning, just one day a week. Then I started doing weekends, after weekends, sorry, weekdays, and then it sort of just continued. And then because there's a huge tournament culture in the club, typically all the students were traveling with me as well. I think I'm trying to think which tournament it was. I think it was the UK Championships. 2010 is when I had had to think twice about competing, because we were at the selections, and one of the guys, Stephen Watson, he's a really good friend. He's still a good friend. We just spoke the other day, and he was competing, and he was about to go on, and I chose to miss my division to coach him, and I didn't even think twice about it. He was competing, and the team was, other students were competing, and I was one of the more senior black belts. He wasn't my student. He was a teammate, but a junior teammate. And that's when I realized, as an instructor, you have to put the team, your students first. And I was happy to do it, but then it did of course impact my competition career and ability to compete as well. But it's something I did happily.
Yeah. Did you find that the kind of, when your students start to get into a level like Worlds and Europeans, that maybe you didn't have as much time to focus on yourself and you had to put more time in towards your students and your athletes?
Definitely. I mean, I demand a lot from my guys. They're great, the black belts. So I teach many of the black belts at the moment, and I'm very lucky. They all inspire me to be a better instructor. But I'd ask a lot of them. They train a lot with me. They're training sometimes twice a day, sometimes 5 days a week. And then I felt, if I'm asking that of them and I'm not doing the same, I didn't feel it, and I'm trying to compete at the same level, then I didn't think it was right. I need to lead by example. Um, and then also, I think my focus, I wanted to focus on how if it was a chance to train myself or do an extra session with them, I'd definitely do a session with them. So it was a natural progression. But as the students got more senior and as the level increased, then I had to focus more on coaching and teaching rather than competing.
Yeah, I think like obviously Adrian, my own coach, would have been kind of the same. And I know
Yeah.
even like someone like Stephen Ryan, I think he's kind of the same as since happened to him, as I could continue competing, but the time that he wants to give to, that he need to give to himself, is the time that he's decided to give to his athletes and spend time and help them achieve their goals. So I think like that's kind of, it is one that kind of does affect many coaches, that when you start to get people to that level, you kind of have to drop back a small bit from competing and put time towards them.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think that's the difference between being a coach and being an instructor and being a competitor. You'd always want to put the student first, the competitor first. I think we all do it happily. I think we've all all of us had a great career, traveled and competed and had success as well. And so, you kind of get more out. I personally always get more out of coaching someone to achieve something, because then you get to share that experience with them when you're competing. Of course, it's a wonderful achievement, but it's something that is also quite personal as well. And if you feel that someone has achieved something that is an ambition of theirs, in some way you've contributed to it, that's very rewarding as well.
And would you have spent most of your time, because I'm right to say you were in one of the other ITF organizations for a period of time, would you have
Yes,
spent most of your time competing in that organization, or what was the kind of?
yes. Almost all my career was in the other organization. So that was the ITF with Grandmaster Nichols. It was part of the Chojongwa ITF, Grandmaster Chojongwa. So we were in that ITF. So most of my competitions, the only one really I did was the World Cup in Jamaica. That's with our ITF now. Maybe a happy coincidence that the first event was in a beautiful Caribbean location. But yeah, that's our first one, because after I left, we were sort of considering, and I think there's all organizations are fantastic. They all have incredible competitors and wonderful coaches and instructors, but when we joined this ITF, I think it was the best fit for us, best organization for us.
Yeah. I suppose we're kind of lucky enough then as well. You had people at that level that it wasn't. You already had people at the, like, it wasn't like there was much of a difference in, you had to up your level. Like, you were already.
Oh, thank you. Well, no, it's. I'm pleased you think so. Yes, I mean we had a lot of. That was our first event, and I think we got sort of 4 gold medals, and so I think that was because we took about 2 years before we joined, and that was because we felt we needed to level up. In the sense that I felt there was a system in our organization, and we wanted to see. I studied that, saw how competitors were successful, what sort of techniques you needed, what kind of tactics you needed. So there was a progression there, and we trained the guys, and yeah, we had a very positive start. And then the guys got into the national team for England straight away, and then I started coaching as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased that we were of a standard, because I think the standard is unbelievably high. So if we're on the right path, then that's a great place to be.
Yeah. And do you have many people still training from when you would have first started in the club, or is it all a new crop that has kind of transitioned?
No, I have lots. So my first club, which was in Wembley, which is still going now, so that's 21 years ago. So Tamalini, who runs that, and so Miss Benitharaja, Tam started with me when she was 12. So she has been with a student of mine for sort of 15 and a half years now. And so a couple of years ago, we all went for her wedding. And so I have quite a few students that are still training. A lot have trained with me for 10 years or more. I'd say there's probably maybe 15 or 20 that have been with me for at least 10 years or 15 years. Yeah. So quite a lot. And then it's great. We've got new kids coming in all the time, new ones joining. And it's hard for me to keep track of all of them, because we've got a few schools now. So I typically just teach the black belts and the instructors. And then I go around visiting the clubs sort of once a month or every couple of weeks while the instructors run them. But no, we've got the old school still there.
Yeah.
Still telling everyone how it was.
Did you find it hard to kind of maybe delegate like that, like to give up some of them classes and allow other people to take control of the colour belts?
No, you know what? I think I have so much faith in the guys, and I'll always say they're the ones that inspire me. So no, I'm very lucky. We have a great team. So in addition to myself, there are 10 other instructors in our association, and I've trained all of them, with the exception of 2 from white belt. So no, I'm just super proud of them. Really, I think that's why I consciously don't go to the club too much, because they don't need me to, because they are fantastic. I mean, they're always asking me to come, and I'm always welcome, of course. But I think it's more a case of, it's really nice to see that there's someone who I've had an influence on and being able to coach others, because there's only one of me, but now there's 11 instructors, so we can teach more children, we can teach more adults. I mean, there are some funny things, I'll go to the odd class and I'll be, and I'll say, oh, now that's a bit of a brutal class. How come you kept giving them burpees every 2 minutes? And then, we had an instructor meeting, and then, it sort of came out that the younger ones, these are the guys that have been with me a long time. And the reason they were doing that is because that's how I used to teach them. And I was 19 at the time. And whereas now I'm a bit more, I'll think twice. I'm like, oh no, maybe the kids were tired. Just give them, no need to have a punishment or a incentive to train harder. But it's nice to see that now. And no, I was more than happy to see them teach and train. And I'm very proud of all of them.
Yeah, nice. And so then, like, you've since started the coaching for Wales then as well. How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, well, it started first. So first I was international coach for England. That was fantastic, and really enjoyed. Really, it's a real privilege to coach the squad. And then, at the end of my time there, Mr. Neil Ernest, he's a legend. Neil's one of the reasons why I wanted to coach on the England team as well. I wanted the opportunity to work alongside him and the other fantastic coaches that were there. But Neil's creating something very special in Wales. He has a fantastic group. It's a small group to start off with. It will grow, but they're all great, and they're all his students. And there's some new students coming in, and he asked me if I'd like to work with him. And I did so. So I mean, I've stopped coaching with Wales now, but I was with him for 1 Euro and a World Championships as well. And sadly, of course, these Euros aren't going ahead this year. But it was more a case of I saw what Neil was trying to build, and I was very happy to be part of that, a small part of that, and try and help him. And it's great to see what they've achieved already. You know, we've had a World Championship medal, European Championship medal, and I think that was the first medal in sort of 10 years. So 2 tournaments back to back. But it's more just seeing how the national team there is growing. So from a team that was based predominantly with students from his club, which is Any Sport in Cardiff, we have the guys from Wrexham, so Viviana and Sevi, they joined, and then there's another club that's joined as well, Norris Club. So yeah, it was great to see that. So it was the reason I took it on. It was a really interesting challenge and a different challenge to what we had with England, which is a big group, number of associations, and whereas you're starting something, sort of from setting the foundations for something else in Wales.
Yeah, it all seemed to happen pretty fast. He was, back there, you had his club in Wales, there was an association, there was the national team, he had yourself on board. It all seemed to just like nearly snowballed, and it went from he was with England to next thing he had a national team, and it all like just took off very quick. And like you said,
he's a man on a mission.
Championships, yeah.
Yes. No, I think that was always the plan. He's a proud Welshman. He's he's one of the most highly decorated fighters of all time, but the top one there. So it was always the plan, and he was always working. And so I was head coach with England, but Neil was always very, very open. We all knew that he was trying to build something, but to have him coaching any squad, even the England squad, he's an inspiration to the guys. No, he's been working really, really hard, and it's fantastic to see what he's achieved and how well the squad's doing.
Did you find it hard to see some of your own guys competing for England, and then you having to coach Wales and not being able to coach them at the Euros and the Worlds? Did you find that a struggle?
Yes, it was. It's tough, Shane, Mog, your guy. Yeah. So Mog's is and Archie as well, and Jamie Powell. I think it was difficult, but equally the coaches in England are fantastic coaches. They've got such expertise, such experience. And the way I saw it was, I might not be actually in the ring, but I'm actually at the event. I mean, even if I wasn't coaching, I would still be traveling to the events to support the guys. But they are surrounded by elite athletes from the rest of England with top coaches in the country. So it's more of a personal thing that I'd like to share the moment with them. But they train so hard and they're fully prepared before they get there. So, it was difficult, but I knew they'd be absolutely fine.
Yeah, they did. I know those. See, when I see like my sister competes, and you get kind of worked up on the side, and you're kind of shouting, but you're not fully sure that they can hear you. Did you kind of have something to say yourself? It's like,
definitely, because it's tough, right? Because you don't want to disrespect the coach that's ringside, and don't want to maybe send mixed messages if you're saying something. But to be honest, we're always on the same page anyway. And no, it's good. It is difficult. It is difficult. I remember in Italy at Jesolo when so Adam Bonwick. So I wasn't, I was Adam's coach, but I was working with the national team for England, but I wasn't ringside. But it was Neil, so that was fantastic. And Adam got to the semi-final, and he went to extra time, and then it went to sudden death. It went to like sudden death, golden point. And my hand, I was filming it at the time and screaming, obviously, and my hand was shaking. And Steph came up to me. All he did was he just took the phone off me and just carried on filming, because otherwise the footage would be all over the shop. But no, that was amazing. You have so many people around you, and the guys are surrounded by experience, and they're all in good hands.
And then so like the obviously early in the year, and I had Stefan on the podcast the other day, and you spoke a bit about the Dragon Warrior tour, and
yes.
I kind of get your take on how that kind of came about.
Oh, the tour. Yeah, I mean, that's an absolute dream. He's he's one of my best friends, like family to me, and someone I looked up to when I was training. I still look up to now. So the tour, what happened? So I first met Steph at the Master Brada's camp, the Brada camp when Thomas was there, and we just hit it off straight away. Really, I mean, that was basically I'd done a seminar in England just before the Barada camp. Master Willie and Master Barada were coaching here, and so I did that. And there wasn't really enough time to get any of my black belts there because it was so short notice. So I went on my own, and then I just kind of hit it off with Steph, and we spent a lot of time together. And then, we kept in touch. And then he came for a seminar here. And then I said, oh, would you come and do a masterclass at my dojang? So we do host big seminars, but I also host kind of masterclasses where it's limited to sort of 10 people or 12 people. So Master Yedith's done one, and Mark Trotter's done one as well, and Master Leandro. And the whole point of those it's really meant to be kind of an intimate experience where the student really gets to know the guest instructor and vice versa. And he was staying at mine afterwards, and we were talking about the masterclass, and he said he sort of had some feedback on the guys. So then we actually worked on it, and the guys that sort of took part, we sort of send some notes to, and he said, oh, that was kind of cool. We should teach together sometime, right? So that was it. It was just one sentence, and that was 3 years ago. And I think we've taught, is it 3 continents now? Yeah, all over the world now. 3 or 4 continents we've been on. And it was literally, that was cool. We should teach together. And then that was the tour.
Planted the seed.
Pardon?
Planted the seed.
Planted the seed, and then we ran with it. And we're going strong. It's so much fun to teach with him. He's inspirational, and we do what we love, and hopefully that comes across. And we really enjoy it. We're going all over the world. We're with Mark and Master McPhail in New Zealand. We taught in Australia. We just came back from the Caribbean. So it's tough, obviously. It's a tough life, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah, like following some of the videos from around when you were in around the Caribbean, it looked quite cool. But you have to get in Carnival and that. So
yeah, I mean, 2 highlights for us. Of course, it's the opportunity to meet everyone, but one of the personal highlights was also teaching alongside Master Hutton, who's incredible, an incredible instructor. And so it was kind of a Caribbean festival, Taekwondo festival. So Master Hunt taught his cubs, and then he taught the Martial Fit program, which is fantastic. And to see his energy is great. And then Steph and I taught as well. And then afterwards, I mean, the guys, Sabam Ryan and Bossabum Franz, and the whole team there, they were so welcoming, and they wanted us not just to teach the guys and meet the guys there in Trinidad, but really experience the country and the culture. So they insisted that, of course, they insisted that we went to Carnival and we went to the parties as well. And, Steph and I, we had to agree. And so, yeah, Carnival was amazing. What an incredible experience. And, we feel very lucky to have had that experience. Very fortunate.
Yeah, they got quite a treat over there, like yourself, Stefan, and Master Hutton, all around the same kind of week. It was, it was a good week's training.
Oh, thank you. And the guys, you know what it is? The guys train hard. They're good guys. A lot of talent there. Sparring was great. If you got some soldiers there. They were really, and there's no light contact. Let's put it that way. Everyone was there to mix it up. So the 3 of us, liked that in particular. But thank you. It was it was really nice to share the experience with so many sort of dedicated, passionate people.
Do you think we'll see a team from that kind of part of the world at the World Championships or World Cup soon?
I'm pretty confident you will. I'm pretty confident. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I think we saw a lot of talent, and I see no reason why. They wouldn't. Sooner rather than later.
More countries we can get along to these events, and the bigger we can make the World Championships, the better.
I think so, and that's why we travel a lot. I was very lucky. I've also been very lucky to be on Grandmaster Boss's development program for Asia as well. And I think there are so many countries with so much talent, and it's just getting access to information and getting access to regular training. And yes, we want to see more countries at all the events. It's wonderful to see so many countries represented. and so much ability in all of them as well.
And so then, how did, obviously you kind of just mentioned it, that the Warrior Open, we managed to squeeze that one in before everything went into lockdown. And
Yeah,
how did that tournament come about? Because this was the first year of that tournament.
that was the first one. So that's actually been 2 years in the making, 2.5 years. So I trained with Katya and Oleg at the Fight Evolution camp in Ukraine, and Tim was there a couple of years ago, and I've known Tim, so we've been going to the Holland Cup for about 6 years. That's one of the regular events we go to. And then I wanted to have a tournament in London, and I wanted to, I think there are some incredible tournaments in the world, but one of my favorites is the Holland Cup. And I told Tim I'd like to do a tournament, and I'd like for it to be as good as the Holland Cup. And he said, "Oh, thanks. I'm pleased you feel that way." And I said, "Okay, well, for it to be as good as the Holland Cup, then you need to do the tournament with me." Yeah, and he went, "Oh, right." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, it's our tournament. Two of us do it together in London." And he said, "Okay." So again, it was pretty straightforward conversation. And then I had some ideas about how I wanted it to, I wanted to do a league from back then, offer something different. And I was thrilled to see you there. It was great to have you there, and Adrian and the team. I mean, even your division, that 57 division was serious.
Yeah, it
You
was
know,
good.
every fight, but that's what we want. I mean, and the reason we do it in March is typically there should be a global event the following month within 4 to 6 weeks. And that's why we thought if black belts are coming and they're getting 4 5 rounds against other top internationals, and we can encourage that kind of competition there, then it's great mat time. It's great mat time for everyone, and maybe links back to something we said earlier about having the mat time that helps with your timing and your preparation for the other event. Now you guys are all champions, so you all want to win every tournament and every spar, which is great. And that's how it should be. But equally, sometimes if you get the mat time, and that helps you just fine tune things, so then you can get the global medal or the global title. I think some people you'd accept that as well.
Yeah, but even like I found the benefit of that tournament, and it can often be the same with like an Open Dutch, is that like when you're at the Irish competitions, there is a high level, but it's a lot of the same people. So
Mm.
you get to go to these tournaments and fight some different people you don't get to maybe usually fight, and you get to see different body types, different styles, and that's the benefit of, like you said, going to those type of tournaments. It gives you a chance to fight high level, but also the different people.
Definitely. I mean, we're very lucky here in Europe. It's you've got the Open Dutch, you've got the Roma Open, you've got hopefully out. People consider our one now as well. Then you've got the British Open, Holland Cup. Whereas Axel, they flew over. Axel Silvio flew over from Argentina. Doyle, okay, lives in Spain now, but he flew over as well. But yeah, to try and provide that variety of competition is important. And I think at the level that you're competing at, I think you have to move outside of the national events really to kind of get that mat time.
And so, will there be many changes to maybe the format or anything like that for next year? Is there anything you're looking at switching up?
Um, well, we've had some really positive feedback. There's of course room for improvement, but I think the thing that worked in our favor is everyone saw that there'd been planning and thought gone into what we'd done, and if there were any teething, it was our first time running it. No, we're definitely continuing with the black belt leagues. That's the key. We'll have a black belt league, and I think invariably we'll probably need to have it over 2 days. I think that will be something, because this was our first time and we had 350 something competitors. So that was great. But of course, if you've got any suggestions, you gotta let us know, because we want to attract the top fighters in the world, the top instructors. So how did you find it?
I thought it was a very good competition. I thought there was some good level. Like I said, I got some good fights in against some top level guys. Maybe having the ring a touch bigger might have been a little bit nicer. Maybe not the full size, but maybe just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how. Like I know there's other things like scheduling issues and stuff. Maybe a little bit, maybe 2 rounds instead of the 1 round. I don't know, maybe like 2 1.5 minute rounds
Yeah.
could be something. But again, I understand it. Like there's for rings, there's space restrictions, and there's obviously for time of rounds, there's scheduling. There's only so much time you have in the day. But
Yes.
those may be some of the things that I would like to see. But I understand that there is other maybe stumbling blocks in the way to
No, definitely. But I mean, that's all valuable stuff. I mean, we did think about that. Ideally, we'd be doing 2-2s, recreate, or either one, something like that. I think what we're trying to do, what Tim and I are trying to work towards, is we're very grateful to everyone that attends, the competitors and the families that spend the day there. So, you saw we had a DJ there, we had things like that as well. That's to keep everyone going. But we also want to try and attract the top umpires in the world as well. Now, all the umpires at any tournament, they work so hard. It's a thankless task. It's a long day. And the reality is without them, there'd be no tournament because there's no one to officiate. So these are all things that we're working on. And when we have the more people to help, and, this time we had our volunteer team, that's at 40 strong. So these are all, I think we look at the rounds. I think the 2-2s or 2 1.5s might be something that we're working towards. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's really scheduling that was the consideration there. So we sort of offset the fact that there weren't 2 rounds with the fact that people might have 4 fights or 5 fights. So it's trying to match the two.
Yeah, see, I do really like the league kind of for aspect to it, and guaranteed a number of fights.
Yes.
But yeah, like they said, if you're to maybe add in the 2-2s, then maybe you don't get to have a league, and so yeah, I think it is a challenge to find a balance between what's the right time and how many fights and guaranteeing people fights.
Yeah, maybe the ideal would be 2-2s and the league. That's what we would be working towards. I mean, that would be a full-on day for you guys. You need to,
Nice. Nice.
yeah, but it'd be great. It'd be great though, right? So I think because there's so much logistics. Like if we split it over 2 days, typically it would probably be the juniors that we'd have to move. But part of the, we had our little ones there. We had the 5-year-olds there, and that was done on purpose because we wanted them to see the black belts compete because they're future black belts. And they're going to be inspired. And, you're talking about how you were, was it a green tag when you saw the newsletter or the green belt, that's how old you were.
Yeah.
But we want kids to come and see you guys fighting, see people coming from abroad and say, oh, one day I want to be on that ring with the computer scoring where everyone's crowding around and watching as well. So it's trying to manage all those. I mean, I was at a good friend, Ariel Alemano's, he has a summer cup in February in Argentina. I mean, the tournament culture there is awesome. It's crazy. But the day starts at 8 p.m. It probably finishes about 11 p.m. People are fully prepared to start fighting at 8, 9 o'clock. And then, everyone has a little bit of a party afterwards as well. So we could do a day that finishes at 10, but I don't think it would go down well in Europe. It's supposed to finish at 5. But, I think the scheduling, we're trying to work around it. But what's been really encouraging is that people such as yourself and the other coaches have written to us, provided feedback, and said, they've all been and said, we like this. Have you thought about this, and we appreciate that because it's that kind of support and feedback that we need to improve. Because as with anything, we're always looking to improve.
Yeah, but I think based on last year, it's more likely I'll go back next year and experience it again, because I got some good fights in.
Well, as long as I've got that full-size trophy, right?
That's a benefit as well.
Yeah,
that comes in. I've seen obviously the last couple of days as well. You've started the TKD kind of techers. I know it's been an Instagram thing that you've had going, but YouTube is kind of you've taken to YouTube. What's the idea, or maybe goal behind that?
Sure. So the TKD techers is something actually. It's been a project I've been working on for the last 2 years, really. So we launched the Instagram page in January 2018, and now we've got 12,500 followers on there. And it's where I share sort of training sort of drills. It's typically sparring techniques, and I sort of break them down. Either ones I'm doing myself, or what I've seen that I'm teaching at a seminar, or when I'm at a seminar from the guys. So I've got stuff from Mark Trotter there, from Oleg, from Julio, from all the guys. So the plan was always to release an app, so a training app. and that's actually coming out in the next couple of weeks. So really exciting times. And then with the YouTube channel as well, that's kind of supplementing it as well. So YouTube, we sort of launched properly over the weekend. We have all the color belt tools up there performed by Axel and by Silvio, and we'll be releasing all of the competition patterns. So our first, second, third, and fourth degree are coming out as well. We've got some fights, top fighters in the world. You're featured heavily. You'll see. So we've got that. We've got tools as well. We've got special technique. So yeah, I think what I'm doing is releasing the TKD Techers training app, and that's kind of been the main goal. That's been the focus. So kind of build a community of people who I think have taken on board and like the way that we present the material, and it's to provide a training app that will help you train at home. When you're out of the dojang. So the strap line is train on your own, but not alone. So so many of the students are asking us, oh, so when I'm at home, what should I do? So you can give them exercises and things, but sometimes it helps to have a little bit of a structured routine, just guidelines on what you can do, different ways of training something and practicing. And so that has been the main goal, to release this training app, and we're just days away now, so I'm excited about that.
And maybe now more so than ever, something like that is needed.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, yes, yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, we started off by talking about how I miss seeing my students and I miss that interaction. But yeah, it does seem to have happened at the right time in terms of being able to engage people. So hopefully it'll be well received. I'll be letting you know when it's out, and sending you the details as well. So again, any feedback would be appreciated.
Yeah, I think the YouTube stuff, like the videos and stuff, I think that's great. Like a lot of times recently, there hasn't been many videos coming from major tournaments. Like I know you can go back on the live stream and find matches, but again, like that, if there's a certain match you want to see, it can be hard to go back and find it on the live stream. So I
Yes.
think like that, I think there is something that needed for videos like that to be posted onto YouTube for individual matches to go back and watch. And as I found, even the ones from the European Championships, like that gives a better angle, it gives a better view with the scoreboard. You can see like Hong and Ian and even other matches. You can
Yes.
see see what was happening. Whereas I'm pretty sure that the live stream camera was on the other side, and it's much further back, so it's much harder to see and you don't know the score. So that's what I kind of found was it was good to be
Oh,
able
please,
to
no,
watch.
that's the most popular. That's the most popular clip already. That's been crazy. Yeah, because I film it myself whenever I can. When I'm not coaching, and that's exactly what I was trying to get. I was trying to get an angle where you can see the scoreboard as the guys are competing. Now it's not always possible, but we've got more Euro stuff coming out as well. Got some footage from the World Championship, so we're releasing something every weekend. Every
Yeah,
weekend, plan and lots of things.
because I do remember seeing you at the World Championships video, and when I went back on the live stream, I could see in the background bit, and I was kind of like, where is he going with that? Like, that video isn't anywhere. So and then it's like, well, there was a plan for it to go somewhere.
There
Just
was a plan.
yeah,
There was a plan. So this is sharing all the footage with you guys, and also trying to get rid of the I think 7,000 videos on my phone, which is probably the situation everyone's in, all the clips and everything. So it's twofold. But no, I'm really pleased. I mean, that was a great fight, Hong and Ian. That was an unbelievable performance from Hong in that championship generally, and Ian fought beautifully throughout as well. And all the performances, I'm a coach and I was a competitor, but it's just great to see the level. I mean, if you look at even the junior divisions, unbelievable.
yeah, the level in the sparring is it's always going up, which is great to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think no, and I think you're noticing that, especially when you see juniors coming through and being able to transition seamlessly into the seniors. If Danilo and Alamin, then they would, in 2015, Alamin was a junior against Adam, my student, in the final. And then, pretty much I think every final he's been in, every Euro and World final. So I think that's a sort of really shows the level at which people are training in their clubs and in the national teams. and then junior to senior, no problem.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you are seeing more and more of that.
Yourself
People,
as well. Yourself as well. You kept very quiet. You're very modest.
it's a long
You,
time since it's a long time since I was junior. You see.
but you were competing straight away from junior, right? You came up, and I think probably that's the training you've got at home, and the guys you're competing with perhaps in squads. But yeah,
Yeah, I started. I went straight from junior to senior, and I've done a lot better straight away as a senior than I even did as a junior, because I never
yeah,
won a sparring medal as a junior, but my
yeah,
first Euros as a senior, I
yes,
managed to take a silver. So it's kind of it's strange how it happens like that.
yeah. No, it's great. It's great to see.
But I think like that you are starting to see guys more who are winning in junior divisions stepping up and being able to do well in senior divisions, like the guys you named, and even I suppose Vitali in 57 has jumped up
Oh
and
yes,
has been one of the top guys in 57. So I think you are seeing more of that. There's seems to be um, especially with the guys winning at junior, there's maybe less of a learning curve. I think if you haven't been winning at junior, step into senior can still be a bit of there can be a learning curve there.
I think so. And again, that goes back to the regular competition. I think competing with the guys at that level, getting used to the environment, and then stepping up. And yes, like you said, Vitali, unbelievable. It's straight up, and that's your division. I think all the divisions are competitive, but the 57s, that's serious as well. So many the World Championship, European Championship. There's no easy round. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's. I think it took a while. It taken a while to build, because you were coming from the old -54 division, which was
Mm.
it was quite small, and it's taken that bit of time to people really to fill out the 57 division and have a really competitive. So I think that's what I think we're really seeing now.
Yes.
But but like even we're seeing at the World Championships there is up on 45 people in the division, whereas before when it was 54 it would have been a lot less. So I think the change has
Yeah.
been very good for the kind of for the microweight division.
I think so. And you've also got guys who probably could fight, well, do fight at 63 coming down to 57 as well. I mean, everyone typically cuts one weight class, don't they?
Yes.
They compete all year round in one, and then global event, the one after, the one lower. But I mean, every division, junior, senior, female, male, you know, all big divisions and all great competitors.
And in terms of your club and maybe even yourself as a competitor, would you have been more like sparring or more certain patterns, or have you always been a mix, or like is it still balanced within your own club and stuff?
No, it's always been a mix for me personally. I love sparring. Probably known more as a sparring coach, but I love the technical element of the tools as well, of the patterns, and then of course the breaking is super important as well. The one thing I never did was special technique. I like to think I was athletic enough to do it, but no, generally the reality I wasn't. But well, in the club is interesting. So all the students up until black belt have to do everything. They have to compete patterns and they have to compete in sparring. And then when they get to black belt, I let the guys specialize. And it was really after Jamaica that I allowed that, because before it used to be I used to compete in everything. So I've won medals, competed in all disciplines. But when I went to Jamaica, I saw there were guys coming from Argentina just to power break or just to do special technique. And then I suddenly realized there's two ways of looking at it. Should you be a complete martial artist, or should you also respect someone that is totally focused on one discipline and one sort of aspect? So I think as a competitor, that is, I let the black belts specialize. But in terms of black belts in my club, if they want to grade, they have to do their pattern. So, Shane O'Rourke, he's mad for patterns. He just hides it from you guys. He's always leading the patterns. And Louise trains with me now, Louise
Yeah.
McCarr. So yeah, Louise, it's like Louise wants to do patterns every day. No, maybe not, but 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 the guys in the club, all my black belts must do everything if they wish to grade, or if they're training regularly, of course. But in terms of competition, they can specialize, and that's fine, because I think the level of competition is so high to be an elite sparrer and then to compete at an elite level in patterns, there is so much technique, so much finesse that is required, and there's such different skill sets that I think, unless someone is a professional athlete or has work or family commitments that allow them to dedicate that amount of time, I think they're not going to be successful. And that's why, huge respect to the guys that are competing at a top level in more than one discipline.
Yeah, I up until only even last year, I would have competed in both. I felt like
Mm.
I felt I could do both. But I got to the stage when I got into 4th-degree patterns, I did both once, and then it's kind of,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it going, you're looking at guys like Lillian, and
Yes.
it was just patterns, and it is so good, and the time I'd have to put in to get my patterns to beat him, and to beat some of the other guys who are just doing patterns in that division, I'd have to take time away from sparring training, and I don't really want to do that. Right now at least. So that's kind of why I step back and said, right, I'll go full on into and just
Yeah.
focus on sparring. Right, I would have always done both, and I think there is a benefit to. I think there is a benefit. I think it's nice to see people do both, but like you said, yeah, it comes down again. How can you split your time, and what have you the best chance of a medal in? To maybe your best to spend most of your time there.
Yeah, I think there are such elite competitors in every division. I think in the back of your mind, if you could say, oh, would I be sacrificing doing really well in one and maybe doing all right in two? And that's the thing, is there's limited hours in the day and limited
Yeah.
amount you can train.
Yeah, and I found out myself, just not even at the tournament, not having to worry about patterns. Is after the weigh cut and the weigh in, you get that extra day recovery. You don't have to go and worry about warming up or training patterns. You can just rest. And I find even at
Yes.
the squad sessions, even before, it was they were longer days because it was sparring, then doing a pattern session, then doing another sparring session. Whereas now I've got that break in the middle, so it's just spar, rest, spar. So I feel like I perform better in the sparring sessions even. So I found a benefit to stepping back from patterns, but like that, would still do them in the club and that, but just
Yes.
maybe not that sole focus. So yeah, there is a benefit, like to stepping back and focusing on that one.
No, I think so. There's lots of ways of approaching it. It's a good way to start the tournament. It's typically on the first day for a world championship, and it's you can get on the mats. You can have a feel for the mats, or it can be a distraction, and you could. It's a day of rest that you've missed. I think so many people react differently, but I think there's huge benefit in doing both, and also understandably a benefit in focusing on one.
Yeah. I suppose just before we finish up, um, if you had to pick a favorite fighter, who would it be? Doesn't necessarily even have to be taekwondo. It could be, I don't know, maybe from boxing, or maybe it could be MMA,
Ah,
or it can be from taekwondo. It's not like I said, your favorite fighter. Who would you pick?
my favorite fighter. I'd have to say the Dragon, right? Otherwise, it would. No, I think
But that's
I think I named some guys here. Of course, I work with Neil and Thomas as well. They're all legends. And I think to pick your favorite fighter is difficult. But in terms of Steph, I feel because he was one of the first to transition into other arts. He's WTF world vice champion, MMA, K1. Um, and he had an awesome ponytail, so immediately recognizable. That was great media presence there. But I think Steph as well. But Thomas, you could just see he was a machine and moving forward, and the way Neil moved. That's in terms of But there are so many great fighters. I think you got Katya and Julia as well. So I'm trying to name everyone. I'm trying to get out of naming one particular. But if you're forcing my hand, I'd have to say the Dragon.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody going to argue with that one too much. Like I said to him the other day when he was on the podcast, and you kind of mentioned a true fighter in the sense of the word, like that went across a number of different sports and was successful in all of them. So
Yes.
yeah, a good pick,
Thank you. Good. No, good stuff. Thank you.
So like that, I think we'll leave it there. We'll wrap it up. Thanks a million for coming on. I really
That's my
appreciate it.
pleasure.
And I've really enjoyed the chat.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me, Jamie. And it's great to speak to you as well. Thank you.
You too. And like that, we'll hopefully be back training soon. We'll get to some competitions, and we'll get back for the Warrior Open next year.
Good stuff. Look forward to it.
Take care. All the best.
Thank you. Take care. See ya.